At the top of the world, where the air is thin and life clings by a thread, lie the Himalayas. For centuries, climbers have been drawn to their majestic, deadly peaks. But some mountains remain untouched, forbidden, not because they are unclimbable, but because of what they guard. Our story begins with one such peak, an unmapped spire rising above 8,000 meters deep within the realm known as the Death Zone. This is where billionaire adventurer Julian Croft vanished. His last known communication was a garbled message about a discovery that would rewrite human history. Now, a week later, with all hope seemingly lost, an elite search and rescue team is assembled. This isn't just any team, led by a hardened mountaineer named a man who has conquered Everest more times than he can count. This group is the best of the best. There's Maya, the team's medic and ice climbing specialist, whose movements on vertical ice are like a dance. And then there's Ben, the tech whiz, armed with ground-penetrating radar and experimental thermal drones. Their mission is send the Forbidden Peak. Locate Croftor, his remiss end. Get back done alive. The corporate entity funding the rescue spared no expense. But they made one thing clear. Find Croft's research data at all costs. The ascent is brutal. The mountain doesn't just present physical challenges. It seems to fight back with an unnatural malevolence. Avalanches trigger with a terrifying frequency. Ice bridges collapse just moments after they cross, and the wind whispers voices that sound chillingly human. Kalen, a man of logic and experience, dismisses it as high-altitude psychosis, the tricks of the thin air. But even he, Koanshik, the feeling that they being watched by something more than just the unforgiving wilderness. Days turn into a grueling slog. One evening, as they huddle in their tents against a storm that materialized out of a clear sky, Ben's drone picks up a bizarre thermal anomaly. It's a heat signature, but not from a person. It's a structure, massive and geometric, buried deep within the glacier, miles from any known settlement. It pulses with a faint, steady warmth, an impossibility in this frozen wasteland. Driven by the mission and a growing sense of dread, they change course, heading towards the anomaly. As they navigate a treacherous icefall, they stumble upon the wreckage of Croft's base camp. It's been torn apart, not by weather, but by something with immense strength. Tents are shredded, equipment is mangled and strange. Deep gouges are carved into the ice and rock. There are no bodies, only a trail of frozen blood spots leading further up the mountain towards the location of the anomaly. Maya examines the scene and makes a chilling discovery. The damage was uncaused by a bear or a snow leopard. The patterns are wrong. Too precise. Too deliberate. Following the trail, they arrive at the source of the heat signature. Carved directly into the face of a sheer ice cliff is a colossal archway, adorned with symbols unlike any known human language. It's a monastery, a structure of impossible architecture, seemingly fused with the glacier itself. How could this exist here, In a place where a single exposed breath freezes in an instant, hesitantly, they enter. The air inside is still and, strangely, not as cold as it should be. The walls are lined with ice-sculpted frescoes depicting a horrifying history. They show beings of immense size and terrifying form, not human, engaged in what looks like a cosmic war. And among them, figures that look disturbingly like modern humans, either in servitude or as subjects of horrific experiments. Deep within the monastery, they find Julian Croft. He's alive, but barely. His mind is shattered. He babbles incoherently about the Silent Ones, the gardeners of the peak, and the seeds they planted. He clutches a data drive, his eyes wide with a terror that goes beyond the fear of freezing to death. He claims the creatures in the frescoes are real. They are the mountain's original inhabitants, ancient beings who can manipulate ice and cold as easily as we breathe air. They are the reason this peak remains unmapped and forbidden. They are hunters. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl echoes from the icy corridors. The temperature plummets, and frost begins to crawl rapidly across the walls. Croft screams. They know you're here. They smell the warmth of your life. Kaylin makes a split-second decision. Grab Croft and the data, and run. What follows is a desperate, heart-pounding escape. The monastery becomes a labyrinth of shifting ice walls and closing passages. Glimpses of their pursuers are fleeting but unforgettable. Tall, skeletal figures shrouded in a vortex of snow, with eyes that burn with a cold, blue light. They don't just walk. They glide through the ice, their claws carving deep burrows as they move. Ben tries to use a thermal flare to create a diversion, but the creature that appears simply absorbs the heat, its form growing more solid, more defined for a terrifying moment before it vanishes back into the shadows. They are not just being hunted, they are being herded. The creatures are playing with them, enjoying the chase. The team is forced to use every ounce of their skill and courage to survive. Maya creates a distraction by triggering a controlled collapse of an ice tunnel, buying them precious seconds. They finally burst out of the monastery and back onto the mountain's face. But they are not safe. The storm has intensified into a whiteout, and the creatures are now in their element. One of them ambushes the team, grabbing Ben and pulling him into a newly opened crevasse. Before anyone can react, his screams are swallowed by the wind. Devastated but with no time to mourn, Kaylin, Maya, and the now catatonic Croft rappel desperately down the mountain. The Silent Ones pursue them relentlessly. They don't need to climb. The mountain itself seems to bend to their will. Ice spears erupt from the ground. Sheer walls of ice rise to block their path. It's a descent through a living nightmare. Maya is nearly taken, but Kaylin manages to sever the creature's icy appendage with his axe. They are losing ground, their energy failing in the punishing altitude. In a final, desperate gamble. Ecky's structural weakness in the glacier, Hidi noted on the way up, It's a massive overhanging serac, a hanging block of ice the size of a building, looming directly above the monastery's entrance. His plan is to trigger an avalanche so colossal it would bury the monastery and, hopefully, the creatures with it. As Maya secures Croft to the anchor line for the final rappel to their extraction point, Kaylin prepares the charges. The silent ones emerge from the storm, no longer hiding, their full, terrifying forms revealed. They are not merely beasts. There is an ancient intelligence in their glowing eyes. Just as they are about to converge on him, Kaylin detonates the explosives. A deafening crack echoes across the Himalayas as the serac breaks free. An unstoppable wave of ice, snow, and rock thunders down the mountain. Kellen is caught in the edge of the blast and the subsequent avalanche, his fate unknown. Maya watches in horror from below as the mountain consumes itself. The monastery, the creatures, and the man who saved her are all gone, buried under millions of tons of ice. The rescue helicopter arrives, pulling her and the traumatized billionaire to safety. Weeks later, Maya sits in a debriefing room. The corporate suits are ecstatic. They have Croft's data drive. They talk about patents, about breakthroughs in cryogenics and energy, all based on the fragmented, insane ramblings of a man who stared into the abyss. They dismiss her account of the creatures as a hallucination, a story born from trauma and oxygen deprivation. They declare the mission a success, but Maya knows the truth. She knows that what they found wasn't a discovery, but a warning. The corporation is eager to send a new, better-equipped team back to the mountain to excavate and harness the energy source Croft found. They don't understand that they aren't planning a recovery mission. They are planning to ring the dinner bell. High in the Himalayas, under a new layer of ice, something ancient is buried. But it is not dead. It is waiting, and it is hungry. The cold is not the only thing that hunts in the death zone, and soon the rest of the world may find that out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tailies from the edge of the unknown. See you next time.